Welcome to the Corner Flag, India's only football podcast that you absolutely need to listen to or watch if you have absolutely nothing else to do. I'm Amogh.
And I'm Akash.
And on this episode, we discuss everything football. You know, like Vladimir Putin.
The South Korean military.
And the Serbian atrocities on Albania. Yep, power-packed episode. So let's get straight into it, Akash. We're on this episode after an exciting round 2 of matches.
A lot of teams have gotten knocked out already. A lot of teams have qualified for the knockouts already. Russia and Uruguay both through.
Yep.
Egypt and Saudi Arabia have to pack their bags and go home.
Shocker, isn't it? Russia
Very surprising.
Through. And the thing is, are you a little bit surprised that Egypt are out, considering the whole hype behind Mohamed Salah and you know how he got them to the World Cup and how they were going to set the world on fire and you know all of that? Little surprising?
Not really, not at all actually, because football's a team game. You need 11 players to try and win the game, and Egypt have one good player and 10 average players, and what can Mohamed Salah do on his own?
It's actually interesting that you say football's a team game and you need 11 players, because in that respect, Russia does have somewhat of an advantage. They actually play with 12 players, fun fact, with the 12th player being Vladimir Putin. I'm sure.
Let's not talk much about that. We don't want to upset Donald Trump.
Yes.
But I must say, Joe Morrison, if you're listening to us, I want to thank you, because I would have gone and put my money on Saudi Arabia if it wasn't for Joe. So thank you for that advice. I saved a lot of my money.
Yes. By a lot, he means 12 rupees. Cool. Let's move on to Spain and Portugal.
And that means moving on to your favorite player, Pepe.
Yes. What a disgusting little jaunt. Right? Do you like
I
Pepe,
already said we're talking about Pepe. You don't need to.
Do you like Pepe? I just wanna.
Does anybody?
I
Does
don't think
Pepe like Pepe? Do his teammates like him?
I don't think anybody. I don't think his mom likes him, because he's such a disgusting piece of shit player. Why is he still in teams? Why do people still deal with his bullshit? But then again, the answer to that question is the same as why is Donald Trump president? You know, it's the same.
Drama. Everyone enjoys drama.
Everyone enjoys drama. But you saw what happened with Pepe in the game against Morocco, right? Like
I
the
did.
thing with Mehdi Benashia. That was disgraceful. Like two pats on the back and Pepe just goes down like a pack of cards.
My 2-year-old nephew would have been able to stand his ground after those pats on the back, but apparently a professional footballer cannot.
That is just...
Tells you a lot about Pepe.
Just disgusting.
But Spain and Portugal both struggled in their second fixtures. They both did get a win, but it was a tough one. Scrappy wins.
1-0 victories, right? And you know, this has been one of the most entertaining World Cups so far, because we haven't seen a single 0-0 draw yet. But we have seen a lot of these scrappy 1-0 victories. And Spain and Portugal, two teams you don't expect, you know, to get through with scrappy 1-0 victories, especially against teams like Iran and Morocco.
That's true. And Spain needed to get really, really lucky to get that win, because the goal that they scored was a deflection, a rebound off of Costa.
Yeah. And I mean, even with Portugal, that Ronaldo header in the first half, it was a good header. It's not a scrappy goal by any means. Very good, well-worked header. But after that, Morocco gave them some trouble.
They couldn't create much, and nor could France in Group C. They are on the top. They have qualified for the knockouts. On the whole, but not a very convincing performance from one of the tournament's favourites.
Not at all. And in fact, they are. France are my favourites as well. I'm actually backing France to win this World Cup. I really like the team. So I'm just waiting for them to start performing at some point now, sooner rather than later.
But at least France got the win. Let's talk about Argentina. What was that game against Croatia?
I have to be honest, a little part of me was actually very happy, because you get to see all the Messi fanboys kind of shut up. Now, here's the thing, right? This is where I stand. I like Ronaldo more than Messi because the obvious United connections and all of that. But I'm just so happy to see both these players play in our generation. Like, as a generation, we are extremely lucky to see both these players play at the peak of their games. But I still prefer Ronaldo over Messi, and it's just so much fun to see Messi fanboys melt.
I completely agree with you. I think it's great, and we're very lucky to be born in a time where we get to see both Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo grace the football pitch. But I think we're also extremely lucky to have been able to watch Willy Caballero make that monumental fuck up for the first goal.
Oh,
what
yes.
was that?
I think we really need to get into Willy Caballero's mind and try and figure out what he must have been thinking.
I think, Croatia had a few good chances through the game till the first goal. And I think Caballero realized that Rebic needs a little bit more practice on the volley, a little bit more practice with that right foot. And he thought, let's be the bigger man. Let's give this guy some
Good
chances.
guy Willy. He's good guy Willy Caballero.
Good guy Willy.
No, I think, how when you're playing FIFA and you're one-on-one with the keeper and you just want to show off that you're a good FIFA player and you chip the keeper. It's really not necessary, but just to rub it into your opponent, you chip the keeper and then you're like, hey, I'm so cool. I'm a loser who plays FIFA all day, but I'm still so cool. I think that's what was going on in Caballero's head, except he forgot that he was the keeper and he tried to chip the attacker. It doesn't work that way.
He didn't press the shoot button enough.
He didn't.
No, I feel like maybe he realized that it might be simpler for him to become popular by becoming an internet meme rather than actually doing his job well.
Fair
Took
enough.
the easy way out.
No, I think, and my sources, credible sources, if I may add, say that there were Real Madrid scouts in the stadium watching Willy Caballero. And I think he knew that. So I think what he did was absolutely right. He was angling for a move to Real Madrid. And what he did in the lead up to that goal, to cause that goal, was his audition to become Real Madrid's 7th choice keeper. He's well on his way.
Group D is a really interesting group because Croatia has qualified for the knockouts.
Yes.
But between Nigeria, Iceland and Argentina,
Yes.
either of those teams could be the second team to qualify.
Yes. And Iceland, honestly, against Nigeria.
Good performance.
I
Good
think-
performance overall by Nigeria. They look like a more convincing team. They are in a better position than Iceland and Argentina to qualify for the knockouts.
I think it's the jerseys. I think it's the jerseys. I think it's the Nigerian jerseys. I don't think Icelandic players have seen those many vibrant colors in their life. I think it just threw them off. I think they were just like, what is this? I don't know if that is an Icelandic accent, but it just seems like every Scandinavian accent that I can think of. But yes, let's move on to the next game.
Let's move on to Group E.
Yes.
Brazil, another of the tournament's favourites.
Yep.
And another scrappy win.
Yeah, 2-0, but still scrappy because both the goals coming, at the end of the game, I think late into stoppage time, Coutinho
Right.
and Neymar as well. But while we are talking about Brazil, again, see, the thing with Brazil is the game was great. They played good football like Brazil usually does. But Costa Rica held them. So it was a massive heartbreak, I would say, for Costa Rica. Brazil didn't really do too much wrong, apart from Neymar. Because that dive in the box was just, it was shambolic. Like, that was ridiculous.
I think every dive he attempted that day was shambolic.
Pretty much. But that specific one just stands out because he did a good turn, if you remember. And he had the opportunity to take a shot at goal. But he just put his hands up and just flopped down like, are you seeing this, ref? Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? I'm falling down. It's a penalty. And obviously it's not.
You think he's just a lazy guy? You think maybe every now and then he feels like, अभी 2 मिनट मेरे को बैठने का है. मैं बहुत भाग लिया, 2 मिनट में बैठ लेता हूँ. फिर वापस खेलते हैं.
हाँ, 2 मिनट में बैठ लेता हूँ और उसमें पेनल्टी मिल गया तो और भी सही.
Perfect.
But also, I want to actually ask you this. I don't think a lot of people know this about you, Akash, but Akash is actually an established scuba diving instructor, right? And I think he's the perfect person now to talk about Neymar's skills. So that dive by Neymar, was his technique correct as a diver yourself?
He was good. He wasn't great. I feel like his body positioning was not very good. His footwork could have been better. He could have just been a lot more in control of himself. A lot less dramatic. It could have been graceful. It could have been beautiful. It could have been entertaining to watch, but it was a little sloppy, and I feel like he needs to work on his technique a little bit more. Neymar, if you're listening, you can get in touch with me. I've been teaching diving for a while. I could give you a few tips.
How much would you rate it on 10?
I'd have to give it maybe a 4.27.
There we go. Very, very specific ratings given by Akash. But staying with Neymar for a second, you spoke about his theatrics and his drama, which we got to see at the end of the game as well, because as soon as the full-time whistle blew, our man just flops down again in typical Neymar fashion and starts crying.
There was a lot more water involved with that flopping down, though.
But how does arguably the third best player in the world cry so much after beating Costa Rica? How does that happen? It's not even like you've progressed to the next round, like the semi-finals or to the finals after a tough game where you had to fight with your blood and sweat and tears. Tears came later. But it's not like that. It's a group stage game against Costa Rica. You won 2-0. Alright? And nobody expected any other result. Why the fuck are you just sitting in the middle of the pitch crying? And it's not even like, man, little bit of tears here and there, like, oh, we got through. This was full-blown tears. This was crying. This was me when I broke up with my first girlfriend crying. We did not need to know that, but it was that.
That's a very interesting point. That's a very valid point, especially coming from you, Amogh. You who are sitting in this crappy house and making an audio podcast that no one even listens to. And I think it's very apt that you are giving your take on Neymar, who is playing the World Cup, football's biggest stage ever, and in a way carrying his country to the knockouts of the tournament. And very valid that you would be giving or analyzing his emotions from this shitty little room wearing your shitty little chappals.
Alright, cool. Enough about me then. Let's move on to the next match in the group, which is of course Switzerland versus Serbia. Fantastic game. Switzerland coming in late to win 2-1 after going 1-0 down thanks to a sublime Alexander Mitrovic header.
But they needed the win. They needed this win, and they went out, they dug deep, they fought hard, and they came back from 1 goal down to get the 3 points, which puts them in a good position to qualify.
It does, and it's amazing because Switzerland playing Serbia, and the two players who scored for Switzerland were Granit Xhaka and Xherdan Shaqiri. And Xherdan Shaqiri, by the way, just sounds like a fancy cocktail you'd order at a fancy bar. Like, waiter, I'd have one Xherdan Shaqiri, please, on the rocks.
And if it came back a bad cocktail, you could turn around and abuse him by saying, hey, Granit Xhaka.
Yeah, no, but the importance of these two specific players scoring in that match against Serbia is that both these players are of Albanian descent. And there is geographical, historical, political history between Serbia and Albania. And of course, Granit Xhaka's father was at one time in the 80s, I think, famously imprisoned by Serbian authorities because of the feud between the two nations, and which is why if you saw both the players, both Shaqiri and Xhaka, celebrated by doing the double eagle symbol with their hands, which is the eagle on the Albanian flag, and now they're being disciplined for it.
They are. FIFA's pulling them up, and they might be banned for 2 games.
Is that the right decision, though? I wanted to talk about this because I mean, I understand fair play and racism, and FIFA and UEFA and all the footballing bodies across the world go on and on about how the game needs to be played the right way and there's no space for racism in football, and all of that is great. But does this also count? Does this also warrant a disciplinary action? Because, I mean, emotions are running high, right? They are. And, you know, there is genuine history behind these two countries. So,
what FIFA is pulling them up for is provocation. They went and did the double-headed eagle celebration in front of the Serbian fans.
Fair enough.
Now, I get that emotions are running high for the Swiss players of Albanian descent, but Emotions are also running really, really high for the Serbian supporters. They've just gone a goal down, struggling in the World Cup, and you don't want to provoke a group of angry football fans. A group of football fans can very, very quickly turn into a mob. And an angry mob in a football stadium, you never know what's going to happen. You never know who the hell they're going to go and beat up. It can lead to a very, very, very sticky situation, which is unsafe not only for the players, but potentially for every single individual in the stadium. So I understand why FIFA is pulling them up, and I get why they should maybe be banned for potentially causing what could lead to a riot.
Absolutely. So let me give you a hypothetical situation now. Let's say 4 years from now, in the next World Cup in 22 in Qatar, if it ever happens, which is still doubtful. Let's say USA and Mexico are in the same group, or they match up against each other at some point and Mexico score. And all the Mexican players line up in front of the American players like a wall. Is that also cause for disciplinary action?
Potentially, maybe. What could also be cause for disciplinary action is if the US just turns around and says, guys, what the fuck are you doing? You need to go mow the grass. We still need to play the rest of the game. Do your job.
I think it's not cause for disciplinary action only because it is against USA and they call the game soccer, which is wrong. So they're not even playing the correct game. So fuck those guys.
Agreed.
Let's talk about Germany for a bit, right? Because
what was that game?
What a comeback. What
Great
a beautiful
comeback.
What a superb comeback. That Kroos goal. I mean, I'm still reeling from it.
You're not happy, are you?
I mean, I'm not very happy about it because see, now here's the thing. I don't like Germany. Even though they're a very good team, they've got very good players that I like. I mean, Marco Reus, I really rate the guy. And I'm very happy that he got the first goal for Germany in this World Cup, especially after missing out the last tournament due to injury. So it's a big deal for him. And, great that he got on the score sheet as well. Toni Kroos, also another guy that I really like. There were rumors of him coming to United a while ago before he joined Real Madrid. Right. But obviously, better sense prevailed in his head in terms of winning major trophies. And he scored the goal and it was a very good goal. So I like that. I just don't like the team overall and we've spoken about this, because they win all the time. We don't want to see them win again.
Right. But credit where it's due. They kept at it. They dug deep. They won that free kick. And what a great free kick. Clearly they have spent a lot of time on the training ground practicing that, and I think it was executed to perfection. Really, really well scored. I want to talk about Sweden though for a minute.
Yeah.
What were they thinking? What a terrible free kick to give away. You've got 20 seconds of the game to go.
Yeah.
Just try and keep the ball.
Yeah.
And also, they kept going for the win even when they were even and they were potentially getting a point. They kept attacking. They kept going for that win,
which is not a bad thing. To be fair,
of course,
attacking is never a bad thing. But I see, I get your point, because if you're Sweden and you're playing against the defending champions and you've managed to get a 1-1 scoreline in the second half, defend.
They would
get the point.
Right, and they'd be in great position to qualify because they'd be on 4 points. Germany would only be on 1 point.
Yeah.
That 1 point would have gone a long, long way in Sweden's campaign to try and make it to the round of 16. Yeah. So maybe tactically not the best move.
Speaking about tactics though, I think the German tactics need to be pulled up here, because I think that was a tactical masterstroke by Joachim Löw. Because I think what might have happened is in the dressing room at half time, I think he had to pull out his hairdryer treatment. And by that I mean he must have threatened each and every one of the German players saying, if you guys don't fucking score, I'm going to shove my hand down my pants, give my balls a nice good scratch, and then I'm going to shove that hand into all of your faces so that you smell it.
That sounds like enough motivation.
That sounds like enough motivation.
It does. It worked.
It worked. It worked. Yes, so let's talk about South Korea for a second. The other fixture in that group, unfortunately lost 2-1 to Mexico. Heung-min Son from Tottenham got the 1 goal back, but it wasn't enough.
Right, they are virtually out of the World Cup. They need a lot to go their way for them to still qualify.
Yes, virtually out. And Son was actually in tears. He was caught in tears after the defeat. And there's actually a backstory to him crying. The thing is, in South Korea, every able-bodied male is required to do military duty for 2 years before they turn 28 years old.
Right.
Son is now 26. So the window is going down. Now, you are given exemptions from this military service if you are part of a sports team that does exceptionally well for the country. So, for example, the semi-final reaching South Korean team at the 2002 World Cup, exempted. The football team that won bronze at the 2012 Olympics, exempted. And by exempted, it means they get to do only 4 months of training rather than 2 years of military duty. And by exempted, it means you only have to do 4 weeks of training rather than 2 years of military duty. Now that South Korea are almost out, that's not going to happen to Heung-bin Son, which means his Tottenham career could come to an abrupt end.
That's really interesting.
Because he's 26, he has to start now to do the 2 years before he turns 28. He has one out though. If the South Korean team does well, and by well, he has one out though. If the South Korean football team does well, and by well, I mean wins the gold at the Asian Games happening in Indonesia, I think, in August,
Right.
that would exempt him. But that means Tottenham will have to let their player go. Their star player, if I may add. They'll have to let them go at the start of the season after having lost him for the World Cup. So he's not going to get a full preseason in.
He won't get a preseason at all.
He won't, considering South Korea are out a little earlier, he'll still have some time to go on a
Right.
break. But it won't be right. He'll be fatigued, to a certain extent. So then to have him also leave again for another tournament at the start of the season might not happen.
But that's interesting because if they don't let him go for that tournament, and if South Korea doesn't win that tournament, they will have to let him go for 2 years, maybe longer.
Yeah. And what does a player do? Like, what do you think his options are?
I'm not sure. I don't know what the politics behind it is, but do you think it's possible for him to maybe get citizenship from another country and move and not play for South Korea again, but maybe he can move to another country and continue his European football career?
I mean, hypothetically, yes, but which country is going to just be like, all right, come here, we'll give you asylum, just do your thing?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm not even entirely sure how the laws work, and if another country offers him citizenship, can he play for their national team? If he can, maybe that might be a pull for some of the teams to try and get him in. But I'm not sure how that'll pan out. You also mentioned that every able-bodied male under the age of 28 needs to serve military time. Do you think maybe he could prove that he is not very able-bodied? Do you think that's an option?
He could do that. He could probably fake an injury, just cut his arm off.
Right. Maybe pretend he has a limp.
Maybe. Or he could pretend that he's deaf.
Might work.
Son, if you're listening, those are your options. The Corner Flag has presented you with reasons and excuses and ways to save your Tottenham career. You're welcome.
We can figure out ways for you to pay us back and to thank us.
Absolutely.
Get in touch.
Just get in touch with us. We are at Amogh Ranadive and Akash Chandan on Twitter. Before we get self-indulgent, there's one very important game that we have to talk about, which is the England game. That
was an interesting game.
In fact, both the games actually in that group, even Belgium.
Group G is an exciting group.
Yeah, Belgium winning 5-2. England coming back and winning 6-1. Lots of goals happening there. And, that's what we've been talking about. The big teams, the so-called big teams of this World Cup are finding it really hard to put in the goals.
Right.
But teams like Belgium and England are putting in goals. I mean, of course, they're doing it against Tunisia and Panama.
But they're still doing it. Even Spain played Iran. They couldn't do it. So Panama and Tunisia, yes, aren't the biggest teams in the World Cup.
Right.
But this is still the World Cup and the pressure is still on.
Right.
But both England and Belgium have scored 8 goals now in 2 games.
Harry Kane and Lukaku up there for Golden Boot.
Right. That was a weird hat-trick.
That was a weird hat-trick by Harry Kane, because 2 penalties, 2 very well taken penalties.
Very well taken penalties.
But that third goal was just he was essentially just looking at the touchline because he was about to be subbed.
Right.
And he was about to start walking and the ball just hit him and went in.
He had no idea. It was a no look, no clue back heel into the goal.
You think there's like small kids in Brazil just watching videos of Harry Kane doing that and saying, oh fuck, this guy's got skills. That's Joga Bonito. That's what we should be doing.
All you need to do is walk away from the ball and you might get a hat-trick in the World Cup.
That's the beauty of Harry Kane, right? What a prolific goal scorer. He's scoring hat-tricks even when he doesn't really need to try. Like
very well executed hat-trick that.
But the other 2 goals came from John Stones.
Right.
Surprising.
Very, very surprising.
It's almost like he's been listening to our podcast.
And he wasn't happy with your take on his first game.
Yeah, when I said he was playing Tatti. He was playing like Tatti in the first game.
He showed you.
He showed me, man. I'm sorry, John, but keep playing like this and, you'll do well.
They were good headers. Both
they were
of them
very good.
Very well.
Good positioning, very well worked set pieces. And somebody on Twitter actually said this. It's almost like Sam Allardyce is managing the England team because great on dead ball situations.
Did you see the video of Sam Allardyce watching the England-Panama game?
I did not.
There's a video that's out on Twitter. You guys should go ahead and watch it. Someone managed to film Sam Allardyce sitting all alone in a pub somewhere in England, munching on a burger and watching that game. I wonder what was going through his head, because he could have been that manager on the touchline.
He could have.
He could have been leading his country there.
He could have. And I'm sure he must have said, man, if it was me, I'd bench Harry and get Peter Crouch on in a second.
6 goals? Who scores 6 goals?
Who needs that? You just need 1 goal to win a game and a solid defense, right? Jagielka, he can defend, that lad.
Hey, he's a good player, man. Come on. So the next game in Group G is England versus Belgium, and that's the game that I've been looking forward to the most. Most exciting game of the group stages, maybe, along with Spain and Portugal.
Who do you think is going to top the group?
That's a tough one. It's a really tough one because right now Belgium and England have both scored the same number of goals. They have conceded the same number of goals. So nothing really separating them at the top.
Could we see the World Cup's first 0-0 draw then?
I don't think so. I think they've both got really, really good attackers. They've both been scoring for fun.
Yeah.
And I don't see either of the two teams keeping a clean sheet. Should be an interesting game.
I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory for Belgium only because England defense shakier than the Belgian defense.
I feel like it might be a more high scoring game.
Really?
It might. I say more than 3 goals.
All right. Cool. But there is a chance actually that this little Belgian team, with all the firepower they have and the way they're playing right now, could get to the finals.
I've been thinking about that. They could possibly win it. They could go all the way. And something that scares me about that is that it is possible that very soon we will be referring to Roberto Martinez as a World Cup winning coach. We could be seeing photos of Roberto Martinez holding the World Cup trophy. What is happening to the world?
And then we can cut to Sam Allardyce munching on a burger and watching the World Cup. Like, ye mother chod bhi ban gaya World Cup winner. Main kya kar raha?
Who would have thought that Roberto Martinez could be one of the favourites to be holding the World Cup trophy at the end of it?
Who would have thought that Roberto Martinez could be one of the favourites to hold any footballing trophy? Like, let's be honest. I know he's ex-Everton manager and all, but
I've dreamt a few times about him holding.
Everybody dreams, yeah. Even United fans dream about the Champions League multiple times, but it's not like it happens all the time. No, like,
yeah, clearly not.
Clearly not, right? But I'm sure, like, the only trophy that I see Roberto Martinez winning with Everton, especially, is the pre-season PL Asia Trophy.
I would have loved it if they won that trophy. I was in Singapore. I went there to watch them win that. वो trophy भी नहीं उठाया उन्होंने.
कुछ नहीं होता है.
Why are we talking about Everton?
I don't know.
More interesting things to talk about. Group H is also turning out to be really, really interesting.
Yes.
Because we have Japan, Senegal and Colombia.
Yeah.
All three could potentially go through to the round of 16. Poland is out after abysmal performances in their first two games.
Poland have been absolutely shocking this World Cup, right? They've lost both their matches.
No drive.
Nothing.
Three games in the group stages to see if you can get to the knockouts. Poland haven't looked like having a shot at winning either of the first two games.
They haven't. And I want to talk about Lewandowski because he's famously said that he wants to leave Bayern now. And he's angling for a move to Real Madrid. Do you think it's going to happen now because of his showing at the World Cup? Because the way, business-wise, Real Madrid would probably go to Bayern and get him at a cut price. Maybe that's what they could do.
That might happen, but I don't know how much of a hit his personal stock individually will take as a player, because like we've been discussing over the past few shows that we've done, how much can one player do? You have Mohamed Salah, who's a good player for Egypt, can't carry the team alone. Lionel Messi, arguably one of the best player in the world, can't perform in a team that doesn't perform. You need a good team to perform. And what can Lewandowski do when he has a team that's not performing as well?
Absolutely.
Except for pack his bags and then head back home and then try and figure out if he can maybe move to Real Madrid.
Absolutely.
But Japan, Senegal, Colombia, pick your two.
I think it's going to be Japan and Colombia. It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
The Colombia-Senegal game is going to decide the second team that goes through. I think Japan will go through comfortably.
I think Japan will go through. But that was round 2 of fixtures, man. And what I want to do before we actually wrap up this episode is start off this new segment that we like to call Baseless Predictions. So, Akash, for round 3, what are your baseless predictions?
Well, it's an important prediction, and it's a little insulting that you would call it baseless. But I'm going to make an important prediction about the game that I'm most excited about, Belgium versus England. Like we discussed, it's going to be a high-scoring game. Two teams that are doing really well, attackers on good form. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Belgium's shots to goal ratio will be better than England's shots to goal ratio. And I will even go one step further to say it will be between 27 to 34% better than England's shots to goal ratio.
Wow. You've really thought this through.
I have a lot of math, a lot of algorithms that have come into play, but I'm confident that my not baseless prediction will be true.
Alright, my baseless prediction for the next round is actually something that concerns Panama. Panama, of course, playing the first ever World Cup, and they managed to get their first ever World Cup goal against England. I think they'll do one better and beat Tunisia in their final group stage match because they're out anyway. But I think they're going to go out after getting a win in their bag, and they're going to go back a happy nation after having won at least one game at their first ever World Cup finals. And they are going to win against Tunisia. It's going to be a 1-0 victory. The goal's going to come in the 73rd minute from a corner. A central defender, will head the ball in. It'll be fantastic to watch. All the players will run to the Panama fans near the corner flag and celebrate wildly over there, and then the game will restart, and then they will park the bus for the next 20 odd minutes and hold on to that 1-0 victory.
But why didn't Tunisia have a defender on the line? You should always have a defender on the line.
They should always have a defender on the line. And on that note, I think it is time to wrap up this episode of The Corner Flag. Please do share this podcast with everyone far and wide. Whoever has internet and has even a basic love for football, they should be listening to this. This podcast will be up on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, on the website, as well as on YouTube. So just like and share and subscribe and RT and Insta and Snapchat and Facebook and Twitter and do all those things that
and
young people do.
Other such verbs that have just come into being in the last few years.
Yes, do the things that millennials do, spread us far and wide.
We will be back very soon with a video podcast next time around at the end of the group stages, where we will talk about all the matches in round 3 and then preview The knockout stage, round of 16, really, really exciting. We will see you soon.